Hello and welcome to the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network Sunday special interview. I'm very excited today because I have somebody returning to the show. He is the winner of the 2021 Chris Jericho Award. He's a Canadian pro wrestling superstar. I'm talking about Black Dynamite, Jeremy Prophet. Jeremy, welcome back to the show, man.
Oh, it's so good to be back with you, Lewis. It's not very often that I get invited for a second time. Not because people don't want me back, but just because, I don't like to take up too much space. I like to give the host time to get some other people on there. But anytime I can do some laps around the track and catch up to podcasts that I've been on before to let them know how the journey is going, I love to do that. And above all else, I love to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. And hopefully your audience will be able to handle it because, some people don't realize that the truth hurts. So I love to speak the truth. And hopefully it won't fall on deaf ears here with the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network.
All right, thank you. Well, I love having you on because you're one of the few guests that I have. I can ask a 3-word question and get a half an hour answer. So you make my job easy, man. So that's why I wanted you back, man.
Well, what can I say? I love to talk, and hopefully people will love to hear me talk because I always got something interesting to say. I always say, you're going to go on one of these podcasts, you don't want to bore people right out the gates. You see these guys, they come on here, they're wearing their pajamas, they don't look like much, they don't bring much to the table. So with me, I'm probably going to say something controversial that's going to get people thinking, get people wondering, get you a few shares, get more views on you, more views on me. But underneath all that, there's a strong message that goes along with it. So, I say, don't judge the messenger, get the message.
All right, there you go. First and foremost, I want to say congratulations on winning the 2021 Chris Jericho Award. Must have been a great honor. So tell me all about that. Well, how did you learn about that? You entered it, and tell me about the award in case somebody's not familiar with the Chris Jericho Award.
Well, basically, Chris Jericho put a post on Twitter saying he's offering up this award to anyone who wants to apply for it. Basically, what it was is to get training with Lance Storm, virtual training. So I saw that as a great opportunity to throw my name in the hat because I've been on this crusade for Canada to get us more notoriety. Chris Jericho, Lance Storm, 2 outstanding Canadians. And I said, hey, if at the very least I can just get my post on there, get people to see what I'm all about, they'll be able to see that I'm fighting for Canada and be able to see that, hey, there's a lot of great Canadian talents out there because Canada's been forgotten. It's why I use the hashtag Remember Canada, and I encourage people to do the same because we've been forgotten about. At a time where there's more jobs than ever in the world of professional wrestling, they're all going to Americans. It's not like you can just work the Canadian independent scene and then get picked up. They're not looking here. It's almost like we have to go to them, but then we got a border in front of us. We got to get a work visa. I love how I'll get tagged in all these things about going to all these companies. Oh, you guys should bring in Jeremy. You should bring in Jeremy. The world doesn't realize that if they want to bring in Jeremy, they got to shell out $3,000 to $25,000 to be able to get me a work visa when they could just take some bum off of the streets in the U.S. that, kind of has training and maybe has a bit of a buzz, try them out, and then, go ahead and hire them. So it's a bit different for us. We can't just put in the work, drive to different places. Hell, we can't even go wrestle in the United States because it's illegal. So when it comes down to it, we got to seize every opportunity we get. And so I really just felt if I could get the message out there to Chris Jericho that, he would be able to amplify that tenfold so that it will reach a lot of people. Let's face it, other than The Rock, I think Chris Jericho probably has the most Twitter followers of anyone in wrestling. And so I knew that if I could just get on his radar, it would be like a satellite amplifying my message, sending it all over the globe so that people can recognize Canada and the great talent that we have here. With that said, I said, I'm going to take a shot at it. I'm going to tell my story. And I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. And I really felt that was something that could separate me from the rest of the pack. Because you got all these people saying, hey, I've been working for this long, really want to make it. And they kind of all say the same thing. And it's like, okay, we get it. You're in wrestling. You're busting your tail to get somewhere. Maybe you got a bit of a look to you. You got a bit of talent in the ring, whatever it may be. But it's the same kind of thing. So when you're competing against the best in the world, you got to differentiate yourself. You got to show that you have a secret sauce that nobody else does. It's the same in business. It's the same in marketing. It all comes down to that. Again, in my case, I don't claim to be more educated than anyone or anything like that. I just, have a black belt and a PhD in common sense. So I know how to make myself stand out. And when it came down to it, I said, what I'm going to do to stand out is this. I'm going to say, look, I got my body of work. 15 years. You want to see a Jeremy Prophet match? Hundreds of them on YouTube. I've been going strong for 15 years. No injuries, no broken bones, no torn ligaments, no concussion. My brain and mental faculties are functioning at 100,000%. So when it comes down to it, there's a lot of me you can see out there. What's different is I'm going to actually pay it forward. If I win, then I'm not going to, because let's face it, I don't need a handout. I don't want a handout. So you're going to give me something for free. I'm going to give back. So I said, if you choose me, then for sure, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to give someone else the same opportunity. And I encourage every person that wins to do the same thing, to put your money where your mouth is, to put your money on the table. So whether it was that, whether it was the outpouring of support from everyone who liked, retweeted, made sure that I'm coming up in Jericho's feed. And let's face it, he's a very popular guy. You got 4 million followers. It's not like guys like me or you, where we get maybe on a good day, 20 notifications and we can look at all of them. He's probably getting in the thousands upon thousands of notifications. So it's got to be something that catches his eye. It's got to be repetitive, and it's got to be something that's got support behind it. So thankfully, there was a great outpouring of support, likes, retweets, far more than anybody else. And that's what allowed me to do it. I can't take all the credit. I definitely can't, because it was a team effort. It was everyone who believed in me and everyone who believed in the message of what I was saying. And ultimately, Chris saw that I was deserving of it. And it's no secret that I'm a very big fan of Chris Jericho, modeled a lot of what I do after him, been compared to him by many people. I always use the example of Coco Beware, who I cut a great promo on him. He called me a wannabe Chris Jericho. It was probably the only thing that came out of his mouth in that promo that any of the people in Thunder Bay, Ontario understood. But when it came down to it, I took that as a compliment because, hey, Chris Jericho is one of the greatest of all time. And to be able to get that honor from him, I feel is awesome. We have a storied history, he and I. He was the first person I ever interviewed in the wrestling business. And this is going all the way back to 2005, when he took a brief hiatus from WWE, got the chance to meet him at one of his Fozzy concerts, gave me the best advice of anyone I've ever dealt with in wrestling. And I'm just glad to see it's starting to come full circle, that he's always been someone who's been that big influence to me. And now it's getting closer and closer to where, who knows, I hold out hope that he and I can have a match one day. I'd love to be able to go on Talk is Jericho and share my message. So, if you want to cut this up as a clip, or you want to give it to my boys at Jofo and we can cut it up too, I'd love to get on Talk is Jericho, and he and I can hash out this whole issue of Canadians being so much less fortunate and less visible in the world of professional wrestling. Something that he probably experienced too, being a Canadian, although I think he was born in the United States. So there would probably be a little bit more leeway, but it's definitely something that we need to, again, amplify and get out there so more people can focus on Canada, so more of us can be getting jobs and getting our rightful place in these companies to show the world that, hey, some of the best talent in the entire planet are here in the Great White North.
Oh, okay. You okay. I thought you.
Hey man, I got to take a break to breathe. I'm only human. I don't got gills.
I could have see. That's why I love having you, man. I could ask you one question. I think 30 minutes have gone by already. So no, that's awesome, man. You're terrific.
I pride myself on that, Lewis, because let's face it, there's a lot of people in the wrestling world. They can't get up on the podium and preach to the congregation. They can't stand in front of a camera and not flub their words and speak continuously and coherently and keep the listener engaged. They can't speak to an audience and get the crowd going and react the way they want. I'm proud of my speaking ability, and I use it to the fullest, man. You're going to put a camera and microphone in front of me,
Absolutely.
You're going to get your money's worth.
Absolutely, man. I could just I could get up and go upstairs and help my wife and come back in a half hour. You'll still be talking, man, and nobody even know that I'm gone. But were you surprised when you won? When you found out that you were the winner? Did Chris Jericho call you personally, or did you just find out on Twitter?
I just found out on Twitter, and to be quite honest with you, I was not surprised. I say that. Look, I'm tired of being humble when I don't have to. I said pretty much, look, I believe, a much better case forward than anybody else. You had the typical cliche independent responses of, I've been doing it this long, I think I'm this good, whatever it may be. I stood out. Mine was different. And I think that more than anything, that's what it was. It caught his attention. Here's this guy, take all my physical attributes out of the equation, but what I put forward, it was different. And it's like, who else is going to put that much money on the table? And that was not a bluff, because right now I have the contest ongoing, open to anybody. All you got to do is follow Jeremy Prophet on Twitter at Jeremy Prophet, JeremyProphet. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Jofo in the Ring, and then just tell us who you think I should give this to. I'm paying it forward. I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I've never been shy to invest in myself. I've never been shy to invest in the wrestling business because, like I said, and I believe I even said it in our previous interview, the way I see it is this is like an education. Education is a lot more expensive than wrestling training in most cases, and I want the best. I want an Ivy League education. So I'm willing to put my money into wrestling. I don't want a handout. I look for opportunity, but I don't need a handout. It's why I don't have, merchandise. I don't start GoFundMes, and I don't need handouts. I've been a self-made man, and I'm damn proud of that. I've been built on my own dollar. So, that was it. I think, put more at stake. And I think that spoke to Chris, that I wasn't looking for a handout. I could have easily paid for this myself, but I wanted to give back. I wanted to pay it forward. To me, getting his stamp of approval in the Jericho Award means just as much as getting to train with Lance Storm. And I've learned a ton of great things from Lance. It's really helped to expand my perspective on professional wrestling, fill in some of the few holes that I have as a performer as best as possible. And subsequently, I've actually worked with Lance again on a couple of occasions at my own expense. Because like I said, I don't want a handout. I don't want a gift. I want to put my money where my mouth is. That's just how I live my life. I'm not someone who's asking for other people to support me. I do it myself. And thankfully, there have been people who have come to my side and helped me along the way. But, no handouts for me. All hard work, all sacrifices I'm willing to make every day.
So what's a typical day of virtual training from Lance Storm, and what do you learn? Does he watch your matches? Does he critique them? Or how does virtual training what do you do during virtual training?
Yep. So the first thing is that you choose a match that you send to Lance Storm. You send the match, he gets around to watching it, and he's done, he's been pretty quick with getting around to it. Like I think the last one I did with him, he got back to me in about 3 days, which I was expecting it might have taken a little longer. 3 days, and he had a laundry list of notes. I mean, he practically, wrote me out a chapter of the Old Testament with how many notes were in there. Breaking down the match from start to finish in detail. I think by his own explanation, he watches the match once, writes the notes, and then re-watches it to see if there's anything that he may have missed as he was writing it. So it's very in-depth, at least 2 watches of the match, maybe even more. Again, I can only speak to my experience. And then after that, we set up a time where we watch the match together and go over the notes together. So that way you can actually see in real time the actual things he's talking about, and you can have some back and forth and get the feedback, ask additional questions. I personally believe it's an invaluable service. Just about anyone, no matter where you are in the wrestling business, no matter what your skill level is, no matter if you're making 6 or 7 figures, you can benefit from this training. And that's why, I saw the value in it. That's why I'm offering it to other people. I'm probably going to offer it to other people again, too, because it's a great opportunity. And I think that everyone can benefit from it. I certainly did. So, and I've been doing this 15 years. So definitely other people who've been doing it not as long, or people who've been doing it longer, can also benefit, because you're getting knowledge from someone who's been to the dance and made $1 and knows what he's talking about. Just so happens he's a great Canadian to boot, no pun intended, and a great guy to work with too. So long as you're coachable, you're open to constructive criticism, and you're willing to learn, it's definitely a great opportunity. So I'd recommend it for everybody. And I feel honored that Chris Jericho chose me. And like I said, I think it's a step towards being able to extend my message to fellow Canadians, to be able to, to show them that, hey, guys, step it up, invest, do these kinds of things, get yourself noticed. And we as an entire scene can raise our game to where people are talking about us the same way they talk about the guys over in the UK, the way they talk about, the top talents in Mexico and other places that have more visibility, despite the fact that, we're pretty much neighbors with the United States and a lot closer than most of these places. So when it comes down to it, yeah, it's great to train with Lance. It's an honor to be chosen by Chris. And I'm just glad that it got my message out there. Many eyes got on my my video on Twitter, my rant, The Moment of Truth. And I hope to be able to connect with Chris at some point, whether on Talk is Jericho or whether he'd want to come on my show. he'd be welcome there. But I definitely think I could open a lot of eyes, turn a lot of heads, and give him a very interesting episode of Talk is Jericho if we discuss the issues faced by Canadians. And we can even compare between two different generations, his and my own.
As is Chris Jericho, do you have an appearance of being on AEW in the back of your mind? Because Chris Jericho, AEW? Because it's Chris Jericho, because Chris Jericho gave you the award. Are you thinking about a possible appearance on AEW Dark?
I'm thinking of a possible appearance on AEW Dynamite, on AEW Double or Nothing. Why we got to limit it to Dark? I see people I could run circles around on Dark. And obviously, look, man, I'm looking to work anywhere that will help me to expand my brand, any of the big companies. I think that a lot of these big companies, they've been sleeping on myself and a lot of the great talent here in Canada. So yeah, but I mean, I'm looking at the big picture, saying like Dark is a minor victory here. I'm looking at major victories. I'm looking at, I'm not looking at qualifying for the playoffs. I'm looking at winning the Stanley Cup and getting the Hart Trophy. That's what I'm about.
Okay. I said AEW Dark because that's usually where you would start, at AEW Dark. Am I frozen? It looks like I'm frozen here.
You are frozen on my screen. That did throw me off a little bit.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure why I'm frozen.
Are we able to unfreeze? I mean, I don't mind talking to you like this if you're frozen. It's all good, but I like to be able to read my audience, read my room.
Yeah, no, let me see if I can get this going. There we go. Okay. There we go. We're back. Okay, so I'll do a little editing there. Okay, well, so let's just move on. So another promotion, MLW.
Hold on.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'll throw that in there, wrap it up for you, because look, I get it. The typical independent wrestler with insecurities might say, "Yeah, I'd just love to be on Dark. It'd be great. I could tell my parents I was on TV and whatnot." Man, I have higher ambitions and aspirations than that. Like I said, I'd love to be on pay-per-view. I'd love to be on Double or Nothing. I'd love to be on Dynamite. Dark is for guys I feel who, they've been doing this 8-9 years. They maybe got a little bit of buzz on the American independents where quite frankly, visibility is more important than actual talent. So in my case, I have bigger aspirations than that. Obviously, if it gets me a foot in the door, so be it. But, there's a lot more complicated red tape to go through, especially being Canadian. It's not like you can just get a call and I'm on a plane tomorrow and I'm there. It takes long to get a work visa and those kinds of things. That's the reality of it. I wouldn't be the Harbinger of Truth if I didn't say those kinds of things to people. But yeah, I don't doubt that there'll be tons of companies knocking on the door when they realize, hey, there's a guy here who can talk the talk, can walk the walk, looks like $1 million and natural, no steroids, no juice, nothing like that. A lifelong, a clean living, straight edge, if you will, no drugs, no drinking, no smoking, no injuries, and a guy that could be a major player at any point for any of the top companies. So hopefully they can get their scouting together, get me on the radar, and get me to where I realistically should be.
Well, you mentioned that you're in great shape. You are definitely in great shape. You always seem to be extremely jacked whenever I see you, man. So tell me a little bit about your training regiment and the type of food you eat and you work out every single day. Tell me a little bit about your training.
Yeah, I mean, you said it best. I work out every single day. There's no days off. Now, I do dynamic training, cross training, if you will. There are days where I'll work out twice a day. So once in the morning, once later at night. Different body parts, different types of workouts. It could be cardio, it could be plyometrics, it could be old school bodybuilding, it could be CrossFit. I love training, I love health and fitness. I believe in working my hardest to live forever or die trying. So it's all about longevity. And people may look at me and be like, oh yeah, he's in good shape, it probably took him a few years. Man, I've been weight training for 16, maybe 17 years. I've played sports all my life. It's the slow and steady real gains. I get it where you got guys, could be independent wrestlers, all these guys going around and, they're juiced to the gills, sticking needles in their rear ends. And, they got, bad cases of gynecomastia. Most of them looking like they need a bra, their hair's receding and their hair's falling out and whatnot. All, walking poster children of side effects for steroids. But when it comes to me, it's slow and steady gains. It's 16 years of consistently training, no days off, eating right, blessed with good genetics. But when it comes down to it, it's a lot of hard work too. Some people's levels and assessments of hard work aren't the same as others. Some people's work ethic is not the same. What I always say is I believe in training your strengths as much as your weaknesses. So in my case, it's not a case of, oh, he's got big arms or he's got wide shoulders, concentrate more on training chest and abs, or no, it's train everything the same. Train your strengths as much as your weaknesses. I want my strengths to be even stronger. I want there to be no weaknesses, but I want them to become strengths too. And it's the same with my wrestling. It's why my wrestling's so dynamic, is I want to be good at every aspect. I don't just want to sit on my laurels and be comfortable. I live a legendary, Hall of Fame worthy wrestling lifestyle, just without being on that big stage and without the bright spotlights on me, which is why I always say I'm ready yesterday, because that call comes. It's not like, okay, give me 2 weeks to get myself in shape and get lean and tanned. I'm good to go. Give me that call. I'm there tomorrow. And, I'll put people to shame. I'll embarrass them, make them look foolish just on presence alone. And then with the rest of what I bring to the table. I may sound braggadocious, but I don't feel I ever say anything that I can't back up, because I wouldn't be the harbinger of truth if not. When you speak the truth, you can easily walk through life and talk so comfortably. I really feel the reason why I speak so comfortably and easily is because when you tell the truth, you don't have to think about what you're saying next. You don't have to think about telling a lie to cover up a lie, to survive another moment, to survive another minute. You can just speak freely and tell the truth. I don't have to create hype. I don't have to create hyperbole or anything that's just going to ultimately get debunked at some point. I just speak the truth. I speak from the heart. And quite frankly, I think that I've been a little conservative, a little, not wanting to acknowledge my own skill level and throw it in the face of the companies that don't want to give me the opportunity or haven't heard of me because their scouting isn't good enough. So I'm going to start being maybe a little bit more braggadocious, and a little bit more brutal honesty is going to be spewed from the mouth of the harbinger of truth.
Okay, man. I look forward to that, man. I look forward to that. So MLW, apparently they're having an open draft. They're looking for free agents from around the world. And I see on social media, a lot of people are tossing your name around as somebody that MLW should look at. How gratifying is that a lot of people feel that a promotion such as MLW should be looking at Jeremy Prophet?
It's great. I think it's great that people are throwing my name out there. It shows that they recognize what's going on. There's a movement here in Canada. But I got to be honest with you. That company, they got to prove to me they can actually hire a Canadian before I start showing them any interest. I know you guys like them, but like I've said many times, it's like they got to show me they have the goods to even be able to hire a Canadian, because I don't think they can. Now, look, I'm open to being proven wrong. So, if they can show me, okay, we will hire a Canadian, not someone who married an American and has their citizenship, not someone who lives over there, someone who is Canadian, who has no history of having a work visa, who they have just taken from the Canadian independent scene, made the request to the American government, successfully got them a work visa, and added them to their roster. If they show me they can do that, maybe I'll be willing to mention that company and put them in a positive light. But quite frankly, I don't think they have the ability to do that. Now, if they do it, they can prove me wrong. I'm willing to be proven wrong. No one's done it yet. But if they can do it, all the better. I'll be happy to eat my words and see them in a different light. But until that happens, I don't think we're going to be seeing Jeremy Prophet or anyone from Canada there, for that matter, because I just don't think they have the resources.
Okay, fair enough, man. Fair enough. Let's switch gears here for a moment. Lenny Poffo. Lenny Poffo unfriended you recently on social media. What was the story behind that, and what happened between you two? Why did he unfriend you?
I always got along with Lanny. I thought we had some great matches, and he just sent me a message one day saying, "I'm unfriending you." Kind of came out of nowhere. Didn't know why. Asked Hannibal about it, and he just kind of said, "Yeah." He said the same thing to me, and that was pretty much it. I didn't think much of it. I just thought, hey, you're unfriending me. We could talk about this, but subsequently, I've heard that he's done some interviews and he spoke negatively of myself and Hannibal. And it's like I said recently, I did a live with Hannibal and I said, God bless it. Lanny can be on the short list of people who don't like me, but I still respect them. He can go to his grave not liking me. I don't feel I ever said an ill word of Lanny. I enjoyed the matches that we had. I respect him. But if he's bitter towards me, he's bitter. But again, he can dislike me. It's not going to stop me from liking him. God bless Lanny.
Okay, there you go. Fair enough, man. Fair enough. So it seems lately that you're on just about almost every podcast. Everybody I know in podcasting that I'm friends with, you seem to be on their show. That must be awesome that so many people want Jeremy Prophet on their show, man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't let it go to my head. I just I like doing this, man. My education is in journalism. I've been in broadcast for like a decade. I've been on TSN radio. I started doing wrestling broadcasting back when I was in college. So it's like it's not something I'm unfamiliar to. I know a lot of people have their podcasts. They kind of are just fans doing it. But I actually have a legitimate education in this, and I love being guests. I mean, I've never said no to a podcast interview. So if any of you guys want me out there, you're watching this, Jeremy Prophet hasn't been on your show, just shoot me a message. I never say no. We'll find a time that's convenient. I'll make it fit. But I know that it's important for my message about Canada to get on as many shows as possible. In my head, when I do these, I'm not sitting here talking, to Lewis in Ontario. I'm talking to all the people out there. I'm talking to, people who work for Vince McMahon, people who work for Tony Khan, people who work for Ring of Honor. I'm talking to people who can get me places, and more importantly, can get my message to the ears of the people who can actually do something to change. I want to be, as much as I'm a harbinger of truth, I'm a messenger of change, because this has gone on for too long, how Canada's been neglected, and it needs to change. So whether I got to do this whole thing myself, or, we can have more courageous soldiers in the vanguard of Verity here along with me, then I'm all for doing any kind of podcast, anytime, any place, to make sure the truth can be heard.
And you have your own podcast that you do, Jofu in the Ring. You do a fantastic job. You guys have had some really, really good guests lately. Shane Taylor, The Godfather. You have Jazz coming up. Can you give us a little sneak peek, maybe some spoilers?
We also have white folk on the show, too. It's not just limited to Shane Taylor and Jazz and The Godfather. We try to offer a little bit of everything. So okay, I'm gonna let that pop sink in.
Okay, go ahead.
Back on track here. But,
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
But with that said, that's kind of an example of what we have with Joe. So we got great guests, we got great insight, great real journalism, hard hitting questions, and the comedy and entertainment. I got to put over the great team that I work with, and that's one of the reasons I think we are so successful, is because we're a team. It's like, I don't feel like I'm part of a podcast. I feel like I'm part of a band, because we're four guys with an extremely good work ethic. You got myself, my co-host that I'm most often with, which is Kyle Moran, Kyle the Spoiler Moran. Mm-hmm. And he's a professional comedian. He makes his living doing that. He's been featured on the Comedy Network, one of the top comedians here in Montreal. And, he brings the laughs. He brings a bit of a different style of comedy than me, because, I'm more of an improv comedian. That was what I competed in ages ago. So I'm kind of good off the cuff on the fly. He's more of a stand-up comedian. Mm-hmm. But we also got Frank Jofo, the namesake of the show. And Frank is one of the hardest working guys on camera, off camera, got a great personality, great work ethic. He does a lot of the reaching out to people. He does a lot of the posts. I'm pretty sure he runs most of the accounts. He runs my fan page on Facebook. He runs my real Jeremy Prophet account on Instagram as well. And he does this stuff, man. We all work 24 hours a day. And the one guy who you don't see on camera, I'd say he's kind of like the drummer in the band. The drummer, the Ringo Stars. They're kind of the ones who are, not in the spotlight as much. But without them, there wouldn't be that solid bass going across all tracks, going across all performances. And that's Bruno. They call him the prod god, because he's who makes the show look as good as it does. He makes it more than just a Zoom call. It's really like integrating the graphics, the videos. He's just a genius when it comes to production. And so we all have our own roles. And that's what I think makes the show so unique. So, I mean, people out there, if you're watching this and you want to see if what I'm saying is the truth, which by this point, I don't know why you'd have any doubts. But when it comes down to it, check out the channel, give us a subscribe, and you'll be able to see that we deliver the goods week after week. And you wanted some insight into our guests. I can tell you that, like I said, we bring on rising independent stars, because obviously I can relate to people out there going through the same hustle. And so we want to focus on rising stars. We want to get people who are on the cusp of reaching that next level. We had guys like Danny Limelight on the show. We had, local guys from here to Speedball Mike Bailey, guys who are really just about to cross that next level. Rick Recon was another one who recently got some opportunities with AEW and getting a bit of a buzz on his name as well. PJ Savage, another guy to watch out for. The Meadowlands Monster. I love that we got great independent guys on the show. I know a lot of people focus on the WWE guys, ex-WWE guys, but I really want to spotlight the independents. That's something that comes from the heart with me, and that's a lot of my input in the show. We have the WWE guys, and we want to make sure that we give a variety. So it's not just, the same thing that's expected week after week. We want to showcase stuff that maybe people aren't talking about. And we've been fortunate to build a good working relationship with Ring of Honor, where they'll suggest guys for us. So that's really an honor. And I just happen to know a lot of people in the wrestling industry and have made a lot of friends along the way. I recently did one with Matt Stryker. It was an audio exclusive. Yeah. He's a good friend of mine for a long time in wrestling. Made some new friends, guys like TJP, who, we didn't know each other from Adam, but, we worked together, just reached out to him. And, we put together, I think, a fantastic interview. I'd encourage people to go check out. TJ Wilson, who has been, again, over 10 years, been a friend of mine. My favorite story of TJ Wilson, actually I have a few, but most recently at WrestleMania, everyone knows that he was producing a lot of the women's matches. I think he produced all the women's matches. And it was such an honor that every year TJ sends me a happy birthday message. Every year I've known him, never missed it once. Wow. And this year, my birthday took place on night 2 of WrestleMania.
Oh, wow.
And during WrestleMania, TJ actually took the time to send me a happy birthday message.
That's
and
cool.
So
very cool.
That was a real big honor that, on one of the busiest days for him, he took the time to still wish me a happy birthday. And to me, it's just, it almost brought a tear to my eye that he would do that. And so, again, a lot of these people that you see on the show, a lot of them they're my friends. And that's why we've been so successful in getting interviews with them. And other ones have just been really gracious. Give you some insight. We recently, yesterday, in fact, although I don't know when this episode is going to drop, so it's possible by the time we release it that the episode will have already dropped. But we recorded yesterday with Steve Lombardi, the Brooklyn Brawler.
Oh, wow. Wow,
and
that's awesome.
He reached out to us saying he had seen our show and he loved what he was seeing and would love to be a guest. And, we took it, just to be honest, we took it with a grain of salt. We had to see, is this real account? Because this is some high praise coming from someone, who's had such a legendary career. And, we messaged him like, thank you. It's really kind. And, we'd love to have you as a guest. And he was just like, and I just want to show you guys how serious I am, and gave us his number and said, I want to get on as soon as possible. So that tells me that, wow, we're really going in a great direction. If someone, a legend like the Brooklyn Brawler would want to come on our show and request that from us. So, it's really an honor, but, don't be fooled. Again, like, it's not as though everyone is like that. That's really exceptional. But we do our work too, to be able to get people to want to come on here. The next thing that we have planned that I'd really like to work on is to expand into mixed martial arts as well, because I'm a very big fan of mixed martial arts, whether it be the UFC, Bellator, One Championship, PFL, Invicta. I mean, I'm really one of the biggest MMA fans around. Have been for a very long time. Used to watch George St. Pierre. I mean, it's the most famous example, but, I used to follow, we had a company called the UCC, which was running at the same time as the UFC. This is going back, I'd say, to the late 90s. The UCC, they ran out of a town near Verdun, Quebec, which was a town adjacent to LaSalle, Quebec, which is where I'm from. And they would put on shows at the Verdun Auditorium. Saw great fighters like David Loiseau, Josh Hominick, George St. Pierre, once the company became TKO. A lot of great fighters fought there. So I've been following mixed martial arts for a very long time, despite my age. I've been following for a very long time, very closely. And I'd like to expand into mixed martial arts and, talking with UFC fighters and, other mixed martial artists out there just to get their stories. That's the next expansion I'd like to see for Jofo in the ring. But that's a long ways off. For the time being, like I said, we got Brooklyn Brawler coming up. We got Lance Storm, who's going to be coming on for an interview too. And we're going to probably be announcing the winner of the contest together. We got We got a lot of great people. We got the Pope, D'Angelo De Niro, Elijah Burke, going to be doing an episode with us. And we're in talks. We're in talks with some other people too. Usually it's just a case of timing, but we have pretty good resources for getting guests, and it's a good combination of us going to them, some of them coming to us. Bottom line for all you podcast people out there, just be nice to people, like their posts, start up an organic conversation with them. You'd be surprised how many people, will be willing to just hop on with you and share their story, because it's an opportunity to connect with a new fan base, let them know what they're all about. That's why I never say no to podcasts, because, hey, I got people like Chris Van Vliet and then Hannibal, Devin Nicholson, guys who have channels with hundreds of thousands of subscribers, who really, don't have to take the time to come on and do my show, but they're willing to do it. So who would I ever be to say no to anyone as being a guest when I have all these people who are doing it? It's about paying it forward and, doing the same thing. And if I can share what bit of star power I have to help enhance your episode, I'm happy to do it, man.
All right, cool. I'm really looking forward to the jazz interview that's coming up, I think this week, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that one. Can you give a little sneak peek of what you guys talk about, or do I have to wait for the podcast to drop?
Well, it's interesting, because the weird thing is by the time this interview that you and I are doing comes out, that one's already going to be out.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So, I mean, if you want, I can tell you a ton of it off air. Just remind me.
Okay, yeah, no, this will be out next week, so you're right. So the jazz interview will be out. So, so let's move on. So you're a huge advocate of Canadian wrestling. Do you think it's time for a nationwide Canadian promotion where there's a Canadian heavyweight champion who defends the title all across Canada? Do you think that could be a possibility, a reality one day?
Man, I'd love to be that guy. I mean, I'm already champion of the company with the most visibility in all of Canada, which is Great North Wrestling. 261,000 subscribers as of today, a channel that is growing faster than the coronavirus. It's got tons and tons of viewers. So there are more eyes on Great North Wrestling and on Hannibal TV than just about anything out there right now. So yeah, a coast-to-coast promotion. Just to say, we already have CWE, which is close to being a coast-to-coast promotion. I was going to help them expand into Quebec. We had shows lined up for here in April of 2020 until, the old COVID hit. Yeah, but they're pretty close to doing it. And yeah, definitely a company that would be coast-to-coast with a great TV deal with good financial backing could go a long way to being that stepping stone that Canadians would need to get to that next level. But, good scouting is able to go into any territory, monitor all the feds, and see who the top guys are, see who the names are that keep coming up, see who's got that buzz on them. And, that the scouting just should be better. It's how can I put it? It's like, if Michael Jordan played in Europe, he'd still be Michael Jordan. He'd still be one of the greatest of all time. But, he wouldn't have the acclaim that goes along with playing in the NBA. I look at myself that way. It's like, I'm like Sidney Crosby, just if Sidney Crosby were to have played in the KHL instead of playing in the NHL, still be one of the greatest players of this generation. Unfortunately, not under the right spotlight, not in front of the right audience where he can be praised and have a Hall of Fame career. So that's what it comes down to.
All right, man. So is there with the pandemic is coming to an end, vaccinations are now available. Do you have an ETA on when you'd like to get back into the ring and start wrestling again?
Yesterday.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm ready yesterday. It's not, I don't got to get back into ring shape. I'm good to go, man. I look at my competition. I see what guys are posting online and whatnot. People are getting fat. People are getting slow. People are finding excuses. This whole virus, it's not been anything to slow me down other than not getting to be in the ring. I'm still keeping my body in shape. My mind is sharper than ever. I'm learning. I'm immersed in wrestling as much as I can be without being in a ring every day. It's the first thought on my mind when I wake up in the morning, the last thought on my mind when I go to bed at night, which is how can I make things better for Canadian wrestlers? Because, like the famous t-shirt we have on the JoFo site says, Canadian wrestlers matter, just like Black Lives Matter, which people don't understand what that's all about. It's that until Black Lives matter as much as other lives equally, we got to keep the message going. We got to keep making sure that people are aware of this. Just like Canadian wrestlers, we got to make sure people realize Canadian wrestlers aren't these guys who aren't good enough to work all the big name independent companies in the United States. It's just that there is a system that is ignorant to Canada, a system that realistically, if Canadians could legally go wrestle in the United States anywhere they want, anytime they want, we'd be all over the place. We'd be showing up guys on the American independent scene that people believe are superior talents. But when it comes down to it, the system is rigged against us. So we got to keep talking about it. We get people to change it. But more importantly, we got to get scouting to realize that we don't have the same luxury and playing field. So they got to come to us and they got to see what we're all about. First thing on my mind every morning, last thing on my mind every night, what have I done today to make things better for Canadians?
When do you think wrestling in Canada will start up again? Do you month and now, 2 months from now, when do you think it'll start up again?
As far as I know, I think there are some shows that are going on currently in different parts of Canada. You got to remember, Canada, it's a diverse piece of land. You know, the way I look at it is it's like this. You know, you got the Maritimes, they're like their own country. Then you got Quebec and Ontario. Quebec likes to think they're their own country. A little bit ignorant over here. You got Ontario, Toronto, drastically different than a lot of the other parts of Ontario. And every province only really has two major cities, if you think about it, whether it be Montreal, Quebec City, Ottawa, Toronto. You know, you go over to Manitoba, you got Winnipeg and who knows what else. You know, Calgary, Alberta, you got Calgary and Edmonton. And it's like Vancouver's got more in common with Asia at this point than they do Canada. So even though we're one country, there's a lot of differences from coast to coast. So a lot of places, there are shows that are going on. It's not just because in our neck of the woods, cases are through the roof, lockouts are going on. Here we got that 9:30 curfew. It was an 8 o'clock curfew, but if you're out after 9:30, you're facing a potential $6,000 fine. So it's not as though here anything's going to get going anytime soon. Your neck of the woods, I think you guys are leading Canada in cases. BC's got a lot of variants going on out there. Alberta, it's interesting because cases are high and you know, I think vaccination rollout has been pretty steady though. So it's give and take pretty much everywhere. So when do I think it's going to restart? I'd only be guessing if I gave you an answer. And I like being sure of things before I say it.
Okay, absolutely. So let's go back to the past now. Let's go back to the past. And Atlantic Grand Prix Wrestling. I read somewhere that you played Spider-Man. Is that true? Were you the Spider-Man character, and how did you enjoy being the Spider-Man character in a wrestling ring?
Yeah, I've never got asked that, but I'm not the only one to portray Spider-Man in Atlantic Grand Prix Wrestling. Okay. So when I started my career with Jacques Rougeau, I was one of the guys who played Spider-Man there. I think there have been 3 or 4. Okay. But I was, if I'm not mistaken, I think I was the first. I'm pretty sure I was the first, actually. Okay. With Jacques Rougeau's Lutte Internationale 2000, I was the first Spider-Man. So years later, when I did my first tour with Atlantic Grand Prix Wrestling, they needed someone to play Spider-Man. And I jumped at the opportunity. I said it'd be fun. I've done it before. There's certain little nuances and mannerisms that I think helped to establish the character with the audience that I did pretty well. And I think I wrestle a very aerial athletic style that lends itself well to the Spider-Man character. So I would do that. And that first tour that I did, it was 30 days straight. We went to pretty much everywhere in the Maritimes with the exception of Newfoundland. I don't think we went to Newfoundland, but we did PEI, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia. We did 30 days of that, and 30 days straight. It's not like we had like a couple days on, a couple days off. It was Sunday to Sunday. And I was working as Spider-Man. I wrestled Quan Chang, the Asian Nightmare, just about every night. Okay. But what was cool was I also got to pull double duty and work as Jeremy Prophet. And that was where I had the infamous match where Ron Hutchison came out of retirement. Now, Ron is someone who's been a mentor to me. He's taught me so much in the wrestling business. Very dear friend of mine. And I've known Ron for a long time, and he had always just been, you know, to me, he was the guy who trained all these great legendary Canadian wrestlers. And I felt very honored that he chose me as his opponent to come out of retirement. And we got to work a bunch of times on that tour. And I think that during the tour, he only worked with 3 people. One of which was myself, which he made his comeback against me. Then he worked with Inaba, who was he was Seiya Sanada's young boy from Japan. They worked a match, and then they put him in to work with whoever Spider-Man number 2 was. To be honest, the guy's name escapes me, but he was Spider-Man 2. And the matches Ron wasn't too happy with the matches of Spider-Man 2, and pretty much told Emile Dupree and told Renee, like, look, either you put me back in with Jeremy for the rest of the tour, or I'm not wrestling. I'll just work the merch table or be the ring announcer, do whatever you want. And I mean, you can maybe get him in an interview, and he'll gladly confirm those stories.
Okay.
And so I really felt honored by that. He mentioned me in his book, and we've actually been talking recently about him maybe making another comeback. And I said, hey, I'd be happy to run that match back with him. Quite frankly, I'd like to get my win back because, he cheated to get that win in that match. So I think I'd like to even the score with him.
Now, you said that he has a book. Have you ever considered writing a book? I think if you wrote a book, it would be absolutely fantastic. I would love to read a book by Jeremy Prophet.
I am a writer, and I have toyed with the idea of doing that.
Okay.
But I gotta build my fame up first before I can write a book and people will want to see it.
Okay.
I actually had an idea to write several books, and the idea would have been to write 3 books, 4 books actually, but only the 4th book would be about wrestling. The other 3 would be other life stories, other things that I've lived through, because the idea would be, Jeremy Prophet, the wrestler. Now let's find out about Jeremy Prophet in the other endeavors that he's had in life. And only the last one would kind of be a wrestling related journey. So
Okay.
I won't go into too many details, but that's been an idea I've toyed with for a long time. And who knows, maybe it might happen one day, maybe not, but I am a writer, and it's a skill that I've never abandoned. I've written my whole adult life, over 200 published articles. Journalism was what I went to school for and what I studied in. So
Okay.
when it comes down to it, I like putting my education to use. And journalism, writing, love it.
Okay, well, I'll keep my fingers crossed for a Jeremy Prophet book to come out one day, man. So I heard that you're not a fan of Sami Zayn, and that goes back to your WWF tryout.
Ooh, I don't think he's got a lot of fans these days.
Okay.
Certainly not in Israel.
In case anyone's not familiar with the story, do you mind telling the story? Would that be okay?
Yeah, I always like to tell people, look, if you want to just fast forward over this part, not going to hurt my feelings. You can go on Hannibal TV. There's a video there of, Jeremy Prophet and Sami Zayn, whatever it may be. Bottom line is, he spoke to Jamie Noble called him over at a WWE tryout. They're considering giving a dark match against Alberto Del Rio to some of the talent there. So they said, hey, who should we give it to? He obviously went into business for himself. I don't blame him for that. And Billy Kidman suggested me. Billy Kidman knew me because I had done FCW. I did their tryout. Everybody loved me at FCW. And Zayn went on to bury me, to say, oh, I don't know him that well, which we've literally wrestled before. We're from the same province. We've been on a number of shows together. We weren't the best of friends, but it's not like we weren't on talking terms. And, he went on to bury me, and he subsequently told Kevin Owens that it was because, he felt that I would be, it would make me too outlandish. It would go to my head. He didn't, it's a thing where he put a knife in my back when it could have been helpful. I never put a knife in his back, as far as I know. I'd love to see him, try and claim that I did, but no, he was someone that I actually thought of positively and put the knife square in my back for absolutely no reason. Never did anything wrong to him. And like I said, you reap what you sow. So, he's got a lot on his plate now. He's going around, he's making these negative comments, and he's got, a lot of pro-Israel groups against him because he's got a big mouth and he runs his mouth, despite the fact that, he's living in an area where he pays less taxes than we are here in Canada. And he wants to badmouth the United States, the country that allows him to live that life of luxury. So he's just a reprehensible human being, and again, so I'm not going to concern myself about some guy who looks like a balding homeless Muppet on TV week in, week out.
Okay, I was going to ask if there's any chance of reconciliation, but after that comment, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no.
Never.
No. Okay. Okay.
It's a case of, I would be a sellout in the eyes of everybody who has heard me do these interviews if at some point I'm taking selfies with him and shaking hands and letting bygones be I'm perfectly fine to not let bygones be bygones.
Okay.
I think that a lot of people give in to weakness, and they want to get this off their soul and whatnot. It's like, no, you put a knife in my back. If he were to have put a literal knife in my back, would people be talking the same way and saying, maybe you should consider forgiving him. If someone were to put a literal knife in your back, Lewis, would you forgive them?
Nope, no, not at all.
So,
Not at all.
So that's what it comes down to. It's not like it's something where I don't think there will ever be a wrestling match. I don't think there will ever be anything other than a very uncomfortable confrontation. And like I said, you meet the same people on the way up that you do on the way down. And from the sounds of things, it sounds like he's on the way down now if he's going to keep bad-mouthing Israel, because it's something that he should not be doing. Everyone is entitled to having an opinion, but you should never badmouth a group. It's just not something that is good for anyone if we want to live in a world where people can get along, people can coexist. I come from a lot of different backgrounds myself. I'm not going to go and I'm not going to insult anyone's background or heritage. It's a line that, whether it be for a promo, whether it be for advancing your gimmick or whatnot, it's a line that shouldn't be crossed. I believe religion and race should never be brought into professional wrestling to further anything. It's just a line that should not be crossed. So, he needs to watch his mouth with what he's saying about Israel.
Okay, absolutely. I agree with you on that, actually, 100%. So sadly this week, we lost ECW legend New Jack. What are some of your favorite memories of New Jack?
I only worked one show with New Jack.
Okay.
It was in Maine.
Okay.
I think it was in Augusta, Maine, if I'm not mistaken. It could have been Lewiston, but I think it was Augusta. And New Jack worked the main event. It was a tag team match. I believe he teamed with Kareem from the tag team House of Pain. I think the team name was the House of Pain. But he teamed with Kareem, put a beating on his two opponents, and honestly, he was a pretty cool guy to hang out with after the show. He buddied up to me. We got along. I respect New Jack because New Jack's a guy who's legit. Anyone who gets in the ring, does the kind of stuff he does, is willing to take that kind of punishment, can take it and dish it out. I got mad respect for those guys, the guys from the ECW days. When things were rougher and more violent, and albeit we didn't know as much as we do now about concussions, CTE, and those kinds of things. So now knowing more, I respect the hell out of those guys who put their bodies on the line and took those kinds of risks. So, I got nothing bad to say about New Jack. I had a great experience meeting Jerome. And it's a shame that he died so young. I think that it's something that in professional wrestling, we got to look into as a collective, because, and I was just talking about this today, how like in mixed martial arts, for example, they do so much rough stuff. Even in training, tons of people can sustain injuries. Same goes for professional wrestling. But you don't hear these stories of tons of mixed martial artists from a generation or from that same generation who are now in their 50s dying. So it's really something that, it's the responsibility of our generation to make sure that we take good care of ourselves, of our opponents, and that we make sure that we're living long, healthy lives. You never want to see anyone go that young. And New Jack's impact on the wrestling business, I think it'll be remembered forever. He was controversial, but you'll never forget him. And I just hope that when the news comes out of his death, it's not that it was something that could have been avoided by maybe just living a better lifestyle or the business taking better care of him.
Yeah, and there were a lot of people on social media posting that they're happy that he's dead and good riddance. How do you feel about that? That kind of pissed me off because I met New Jack a long time ago when I used to go to ECW shows, and I saw him walking on, I don't know if you're familiar with Queens, New York. He was walking on Queens Boulevard before the show started, and I approached him nervously because it's New Jack, right? But he was very personable, shook my hand, thanked me for the support. So I get a little pissed off at people saying good riddance. I'm glad he's gone. What are your thoughts on people saying that on social media about New Jack?
I don't put too much stock into people saying stuff on social media. I really don't, because you can put anything on social media, and the 100% guarantee that you have is that there will be at least one person that won't agree with you. I've seen people literally post, "God is good," as a tweet on social media. And there will be people who will troll and hate that. So it's just, no matter what you put on there, if you're not willing to accept that it's not going to be, no matter how altruistic, no matter how benevolent your tweet is or your post is, you got to be willing to accept the fact that there's probably going to be at least one person who's not going to be happy with it. And when it comes down to it, social media is a game of tanking through haters and having a strong moral compass, a strong constitution to know that you're posting the right thing and to not be dissuaded by haters, not let them cut you off at the knees. So I would say to you, Lewis, don't let them get you down, man. There are people who just live to troll, to use the anonymity of social media to try to bring people down. And, you know, what matters is what's in your heart, what you believe. You know, I don't post things online for people's approval. You know, I post things online because I want to post them. So, you know, if you don't like it and you want to, you know, tell me to go F myself, it's your constitutional right to do that. That's all good and fine. But I post knowing that, hey, there are going to be people, maybe just one, but there is likely to be someone, no matter what you post, that they're going to be bothered by it. So what?
Absolutely, man. Well said, man. Well said. You just made me feel a lot better, man. Thank you. I appreciate that, man.
Glad I could help.
So last question, and then I'll let you plug anything that you want to plug. At the end of 2021, what do you hope is happening for Jeremy Prophet?
I hope that Jeremy Prophet can be a beacon of light for Canadian wrestlers. I hope that I can be the Jackie Robinson to make people realize that Canada doesn't need to be the Negro Leagues. You know, Canada and Canadian wrestlers should be just as present throughout all the major companies as all of the other countries. There should be an equal amount of representation, if not more, because we share the same landmass with the United States. So there should be an equal amount of representation of Canadians to any other international talents. And that's through all the major companies, all the companies that actually have the stroke and the pull to be able to get work visas for talents. So WWE, AEW, Impact, Ring of Honor, these guys should all have as many Canadians as you have UK guys, as you have Mexicans, as you have Australians. Canadians should be represented. These companies should actively be looking at the independents, knowing that they can't legally bring us over to do a tryout match in the United States, and understand that, you know, we may need to have that velvet rope open for us to be brought over. They may need to invest and get the talent because we can't try out. So it's like, yeah, sometimes you got to realize that there are a lot of, I'll put it like this, you know, so I think Canada, we got a lot of fine cars, you know, like the talent here, we got a lot of Ferraris that haven't been purchased yet. Do you need to test drive a Ferrari? You don't need to test drive a Ferrari. When it comes to Jeremy Prophet is a Ferrari, is an Alfa Romeo, is an Aston Martin. You know, so when it comes down to it, you don't need to test drive me. You see what I bring to the table. So you should be willing to shell out the money to get us over there, knowing that you can't have a test drive, but knowing that you're getting a quality vehicle. That's what it comes down to. And I'd like to see companies realize that and give Canadians an equal opportunity, because Canadian wrestlers matter just as much. Look at all the great Canadian talent that have been great Hall of Famers, great contributors to making people want to watch wrestling throughout the years. So they got to give us our due, give us our equal spot. And the scouting needs to step it up. There's no reason why a talent like Jeremy Prophet should go unnoticed and unscouted for so many years. These companies are missing out. They got to step it up. And that's what I'm going to keep doing. I'm going to keep shouting it to the hills to make sure that people hear this message.
All right, man. Keep fighting the good fight, man. I'm behind you 100%, man. You know, keep doing what you're doing. You're definitely gonna make it, man. I wouldn't be surprised 2021, 2022, we see you on AEW Dynamite or Impact or NXT, because you have the it factor, man. You have the it factor, and you deserve to be there, man.
I say it that, you know, you give me 5 minutes, just 5 minutes to do one of these calls with any of the top executives, and I guarantee you, they will see in Jeremy Prophet what you and people like yourself already see. They will see the star power. They will see someone who can sell, but who can also deliver. And bottom line is, I'm just one guy here in Canada. I think there are hundreds of talents just like me that can be game changers for all the major companies. They just got to step it up, and they got to give us our due. You know, we are not the Negro Leagues compared to Major League Baseball. You know, if I could be the Jackie Robinson, then let's blow open that color barrier. Let's blow open that border, and let's make the world realize that Canadian talents got the goods.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So before we wrap this up, is there anything you want to plug? Social media? I think you plugged some social media already. Do you have any merchandise that you're selling? I think I saw a shirt that said ready yesterday. You have a shirt that says that. Any merchandise, any plugs, go right ahead, man.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not big on plugging the merchandise, but Jofo did create merchandise for me.
Okay.
So, out of respect to my friends, again, that money doesn't go towards me. That goes towards the show.
Okay.
So, yeah, there's the Ready Yesterday shirt. There's a Harbinger of Truth. There's the Canadian Wrestlers Matter shirt, which I think that's the most important one because, again, it's the message that's most paramount out of that. You can find that on the jofointhering.store. So yeah, if you want to support the show, you can go there. Kyle's got a shirt, Frank Jofo's got a shirt, etc. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on Twitter. That's the best place to reach me because Facebook's just blowing up. I think there's a lot of people in Canada. A lot more people have Facebook, so I do get a lot of ads when I do these interviews. But space is running out. I think I got maybe like 10 more spots left to accept friends. But yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at Jeremy Prophet, JeremyProphet. You can find me on Instagram at The Real Jeremy Prophet. That's my fan page. And you can see me every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. on Jofo in the Ring, interviewing the best of the best in the wrestling business, giving people some entertainment, giving them some insight. And yeah, I'm always expanding the Jeremy Prophet brand. So, if there are people out there who want to collaborate with me, you want me as a guest for an interview, you want to sponsor me. I don't have any sponsors. It's insane. I mean, the show's got some sponsors. We got like Squared Circle Apparel. We got Balboa Bakery, which is a great local bakery here. You see us do those funny skits for them all the time. But Jeremy Prophet doesn't have any sponsors. So, if you want to get behind a great cause, you want to invest in a great penny stock that is going to be blue chip and is going to make you a huge return on your dividend, then get on the Jeremy Prophet bandwagon now. I'd love to have sponsors help me along the way. And I give just as good as I receive. So, anyone who gets behind me, gives me their support, I'll make sure that I can shout to the hilltops exactly what they're all about. So, yeah, that would be one of the next things I'd be looking for. And we got a lot of fun projects in the work with Jofo. So, yeah, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Listen to us on Podbeam, on Apple, on Spotify, whatever your flavor is. And I guarantee that you will get a healthy dose of entertainment week in, week out. If you love this interview, you'll definitely love the stuff we bring to the table. And you might want to shoot our man Lewis a subscribe as well, because we're all part of the same network. We live in the same country, and we love the same sport, which is professional wrestling. So the more support you throw our way, the more it will help us give back.
All right. Well, Jeremy, it is always a pleasure having you on. It's always a pleasure talking to you, man. And let's do this again, man. I would love to have you back many, many times because, like I said, you make my job very easy. You just ask one question, and I'm getting a well thought out, long answer. And love having you on. And I'd love to have you back. And I wish nothing but the best of luck in the future. And I have no doubt that you are going to be in one of the major promotions very, very soon, my friend.
I appreciate the kind words. I appreciate the support. And I appreciate the fact that unlike most people who can't handle the truth, you definitely can. And if you can handle the truth, you can definitely handle Jeremy Prophet.
All right, man. And you'll come back, right? We'll have you back on the show in a few months. Is that?
Oh, of course.
Okay, man. Well, we can have you on every week. Make my show easy. Make my job easy, man. Yeah, let's do. No, you have your weekly show, Joe from the Ring. We'll do in a few months. Anytime you want to come back, you're always welcome, my friend.
I appreciate it.
My pleasure, man. So this has been the Sunday special interview. Again, want to thank my guest, the Harbinger of Truth, Black Dynamite, one of the best wrestlers in Canada right now, Jeremy Prophet. And until next time, thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye. And stay safe, everyone. So long. Bye-bye.